Let me take some questions. All right? Thank you very much. All right, so here, I think you've been told how this works, but I'm going to just repeat it. I'm just going to call on as many people as possible. When I call on you, introduce yourself. Tell me what country you're from. Make your question relatively short so that we can get as many questions in as possible. And I'm going to go boy, girl, to make sure that it's fair. All right? Okay, so let me see who I'm going to start off with. This is such a good-looking group. I'm going to start with this young lady right here, right in the middle. Yeah, there you go. With the African earrings. Very appropriate.
My name is Faith Chege. I'm from Kenya.
Habari.
Mzuri sana.
Okay.
Yes. And my question is, I'm curious how you keep the balance in terms of your background as an African American and the kind of struggles you've had to get over to get here, and being married to Michelle Obama. She's powerful and amazing. And as a father, as a husband, but you seem to not let that interfere with your work and you being effective. So how do you keep the balance?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't be who I was without Michelle. So she's my partner. And that's true professionally, but that's true in terms of my character and who I am. One of the things I'm very proud of is the fact that that I married someone who is strong and talented and opinionated and my equal. And part of the reason why that's so important to me is because she's the role model now for my daughters. And so Malia and Sasha, they have expectations of being strong and talented and being treated as an equal by their partners as they get older, much older. You know, the balance, I've written about this, the balance isn't always perfect. I think one of the things that my generation, but now even more your generation, has to manage is if you have two people working in the house outside the home, how do you manage that in a way that we're both good parents, we're both able to succeed in our work? And what Michelle and I found was that we had to recognize that at any given point in our careers, one person might sacrifice a little bit. Maybe this was time that she really had to focus on something, and so I had to cover for her more. There were times where I was able to do something and she had to handle things more. Now, I'm not suggesting that it's been completely equal, because I'm the first one to acknowledge that she's probably made more sacrifices given the nature of a political career than I have. But what I've learned from her is that if she doesn't feel respected and fulfilled, then I'm going to end up being less successful ultimately. And that's something that I think that men in Africa in particular, but men everywhere, but men in Africa, I've spoken about this a lot. The best measure of how a country does economically in terms of development is how does it treat its women. And as I said in a speech, a couple of the speeches that I gave while I was in Kenya and Ethiopia, If you're mistreating your women, then you're just holding yourself back. You're holding yourself down. You may have some false sense of importance, but ultimately, you don't benefit if women are being discriminated against, because that means when they're working, your family is going to have less income. If they're not educated, that means your children are less likely to be well educated, because typically the mother is the first educator of a child. So if they see you disrespecting your wife, then what lesson is not just your girls, but what lesson are your sons learning from you? And so this is something that I really think everybody, especially the young generation of African men, have to learn and internalize. And I want to see more men creating peer pressure among themselves. If you see a friend of yours, a classmate, one of your buddies abusing a woman, you have to say something. You have to ostracize them and say that's not acceptable. Because ultimately, this is not just an issue of laws, although here in the United States, we're still fighting for equal pay for equal work. We're still fighting to make sure that women have the same opportunities as men. But it's also a matter of culture and what our expectations are. And your generation is going to have to change expectations. You do not lift yourself up by holding somebody else down. And that's especially true within your own family and the people that you're closest to. All right? So, all right.